This is the SAIWAN 10.1-inch digital photo frame. I was provided this frame to review for free, but they have no editorial control over what I say about it, and they have not paid me for this review. Alright, so it's packaged in foam here to keep the screen safe. Obviously the 10.1 inch is a lot smaller than the box it comes in. So it has two hangers, one for landscape and one for portrait for nail hanging. It has a slot for a MicroSD card. It has a DC power input, a USB port, and a reset button along with the power switch back here. It also has a locking cable, so you could lock this with a standard laptop cable lock. This is a $50 price point digital picture frame. We have here a manual, instructions for software updates, and then in the box here we have a little snap-in stand which can snap either horizontally or vertically. It is off-centered a little bit, so let me snap that in place there. It holds it up just fine even though it's off-center. And we have here a small power adapter, which is a USB-A power adapter to a very small proprietary DC barrel plug. The provided power cable is 6 feet long, which means you can mount it anywhere within 6 feet of an outlet. You could potentially also plug this into a USB power bank and run it temporarily off of a battery bank, or you could get an extension cord to extend the length of this end. So when the screen is off, this thing is quite reflective. You could almost use it as a mirror. So hi there. I'm going to turn it on and we'll see how bright it is. Alright, so that looks pretty bright. I'm not seeing a lot of reflections anymore until it turns black. So this is the Biu Frame, and it has a touch screen, so we are going to select English as the default language. There's many other options. Then you have to go download the app. Now I'm going to try using this frame without using any phone apps initially, and then I'll look at the phone app. So I'm going to see what happens if I go right here. So I can connect it to my Wi-Fi if I wanted to. I can start an offline mode. Alright, we can't get the neat network features if we're offline, so we're going to keep offline for now. Most people would probably use this online, so you could have weather and things like that, but I'm going to try seeing just as a standalone photo frame how well this thing's going to work. So we can turn the time and weather off, and we will play photos randomly. So we can set a sleep time. I think that seems like a good idea, from say 11 a.m. to 7 a.m. So the frame will turn off at that time. It has an auto dim time range as well. I'm hoping the sleep will turn it fully off, but let me see. This looks like it's just the regular display brightness. Media volume, so it can play videos, or at least 15-second videos. There's notifications if you have it online. And storage inside right now says it has 12.9 gigabytes and 66 megabytes are being used. So it's a 16 gigabyte storage chip. but you only have about 13 gigabytes usable by the user. You can use the network, time, date, and time zone if you are on the network, but since I'm not, I won't. And then we can set the date and time here, but I'm not going to bother. So currently there are no photos on the frame. I'm going to get a USB cable and try to change that. And it's not a USB-A, so you can't just plug a memory stick in. It's a micro USB, so I'm assuming this connects to a computer as a drive. So there's not a whole bunch of room here, but this micro USB cable fit in there. Well, I was hoping I could plug this thing into my laptop with USB and transfer photos across as a hard drive, but that doesn't work. It's only powered by that USB port. So on the plus side, if you should happen to lose this little DC plug, you can power it with a micro USB plug plugged into anything that provides 5 volt at 1 to 2 amps. On the downside, you can't transfer files over by USB, so I'm going to go find a trans flash card. Okay, I put some photos onto the micro SD card and I plugged it into the back of the frame, and without having to push any buttons, it has found one of my photos and is displaying it. It does have this annoying, hey, you have no Wi-Fi symbol up here, so I don't know if there's a way to get rid of that without actually attaching it to Wi-Fi, and it's looking like it's doing its own transitions between the photos every 15 seconds or so. So if you just plug a trans flash or micro SD card with photos on it, it'll just find them and start using them. Now I don't know if there is a way to modify the annoying slideshow animations. So I have it shuffled, the transformation effect. It looks like you can pick all of the different transformation effects here and select on and off. And personally, I think the fade in and out would be the way to go. I haven't looked at all of these, but a lot of them looked annoying. So I am going to leave it to just fade in and out. Now it does this annoying animation effect, and that's apparently to make it fit to the window, and I don't want it to animate and go back and forth like this because that's just annoying to have up on your wall. So here's the fade in and out, and that was very nice, but it looks like if the photo is not exactly the aspect ratio it wants, which might be 16:9, it's doing the zoom in and out, and I think that is an option for the play effect. I'm going to just change, instead of full view, I'm going to say fit to view, and we'll see if that gets rid of that annoying transition. So yeah, that's what you do. If you just say full view, it shows it, but it doesn't do the animation to zoom in and out. I like the fact that instead of black bars, it kind of does the take, a blurred version of the side of the image and extend it out there. Okay, so with the exception of the Wi-Fi is missing icon, that's a perfectly functional photo frame without any network connectivity. So if you're displaying photos off of the SD card, you can go up to the album display here, you can go to the SD card, and you can see these are the photos on the SD card, and you can hold, long press, and check and select multiple photos and say copy these to the internal storage. And it will go ahead and copy them, and then after this you can take out that micro SD card and these photos will be stored on the photo frame. So now in the frame photos, they're there as well. Now it does have a private photo store, and so if you click on a photo and it's in your private photo store, you can take it out of private by doing that. And so now if you look at the frame photos, or sorry, that's in the SD card, there's this photo as well, which didn't show up on the SD card before because it was private. So It's not super secure because obviously anybody can touch the photo frame and take a look. But essentially, so if you have some photos and you want some photos to not show, you can select a particular photo and mark it as private. So you just hit the private. And when you do that, it will disappear from the frame photos, and instead it will appear in this private area. Now obviously if somebody were to tap your photo frame and go into the albums, if they tap the photo frame, hit the albums, there's nothing stopping them from going into your private photos either, but it will not display by default. Now if you don't want to push and long hold, you can also do the check mark icon and you can select all of them in one go, or you can manually select just some of them. So when I push the microSD card in here, it is completely flush with the outside of the case. So I had to get my tweezers out here. I did push and it snapped out. So if you get something thin like a screwdriver, the end of your tweezers, you can push in a little bit and it will snap out just enough to grab if you have small fingers. And you can get that back out without too much difficulty. Now it does have auto rotation detection, so it will rotate pictures appropriately if you change its orientation. I have the brightness turned all the way up, and I'm powering this by a USB at 5 volts, and it is drawing right now just a little bit under an amp, so 0.93 amps. So it looks like this guy runs on about 5 watts of power continuously. And it sometimes goes lower, so it's 0.65 amps now, and then it jumps up. I believe it's drawing close to 1 amp when it's doing calculations like redrawing the photos, and just the screen running is about 0.65 amps. So when it's just displaying, it's 0.6 amps. When it's calculating the next photo and doing that blur shift between the photos, it goes up to 1 amp. So for offline use, you can make it work. The no Wi-Fi symbol always being there is annoying to me. It's, not totally blocking the whole photo view or anything, but it just annoys me. I would have liked to have a USB-A port on the back so you could put photos in with a USB thumb drive as opposed to having to get a micro SD card, but you can certainly transfer photos manually to this frame and have it run offline. So as shipped from the factory, this has firmware version 1.0.0 and then there's a date, 2022-09-29. And the application version is 10.0.5. So I'm going to hook this up to the Wi-Fi network and see if it gets an update automatically. Alright, we are connected to the network. I can do this network diagnostic check in the About screen, and it gives me all the check marks. It now has a frame ID and a frame email address, so if you send an email with a photo attached to this particular email address, it'll show up on my frame. And now we can use the application on our phone. Now that I've attached it to the network, I can turn on the weather. It automatically has geolocated via my IP address to my city. And we have, instead of a no Wi-Fi symbol, we have a clock, 11:32 a.m., and the general weather forecast, 79 Fahrenheit. If I click on that, I get a slightly extended forecast for today, Thursday, and Friday. Now, if you do not want the weather and time on the top of your slideshow, you can turn that off and have nothing but the photo frame. However, if it loses Wi-Fi connectivity, that Wi-Fi X symbol is going to appear here again. Alright, I emailed a picture to my frame's email address probably about 10 minutes ago, and it did a little bubbling and it says, "I've received one picture, tap to view." And that is actually the picture that I received. So it did work. Okay, so in addition to being in the Friends folder, it has put that into my frame photos as well. And so it is in the list of photos for the slideshow. And by swiping left or right, you can advance through your photos. So field view is pretty good. You can see as I go around off to the side, you can still pretty clearly see that image from pretty far off to the side. And then up and down, it has a wide field of view here, so that really isn't going to be an issue. Get a little sunlight reflecting off, but the image is still visible there. Okay, I am now going to install the application for this photo frame on my phone. Okay, I found the Biu Frame app. It's underneath this ad by searching for Biu Frame. It has 10,000 plus downloads, rated for everyone, 3-star reviews. So we are going to install this app. It is 18 megabytes to install. And then we will open it. So they want to access my calendar. I don't want them to access my calendar. They want to access my photos, videos, music, and audio. I guess I'm going to have to let them allow that if they want to transfer pictures. They want to send me notifications. I don't want to allow that. So I need to set up an account with them. So I'm going to put in an email address and a password, which I won't show you. Instead of pushing login, I'm pushing the sign up to create an account. And now I can log in with that password. Now it has a frame ID which does match the information on my frame here. So they have geolocated my phone to the same IP address as my frame and identified which frame is mine. So, you know, that's not spooky or anything. So I can hit the Add Photos button, and it is scanning my photos and videos. So I will pick a photo of the moon and send it. And they want me to adjust the photo so that it will fit in the frame appropriately. So I'm going to make this, well, it's a landscape frame. I can't seem to zoom the photo, so I'm not going to get the full moon in there, but we'll deal with it. So it's sending one photo sent successfully, and then it'll take a while. Again, we've received a picture, so that was much faster than in the email case. And so there is the photo. And I have a picture of the moon that I took with my telescope on this frame. And if we look at the frame photos, there it is. I want to send a movie, and so once it's loaded, I can select particular folders. And so I know in the movies folder, this one right here is the one I want. And I need to push it to get bigger like this, and then push this yellow thing in the top right, which is kind of the film clip selector. And with that, I can slide the movie along to select the particular section I want. And I push send. And now we wait for it to appear on the frame. And we've received one video. So you can see it does play videos. This particular video would probably be played better in that aspect ratio. Not something I want hanging on my wall playing a video all the time, but I could see if you're using it for a floor display or something to show, you know, product demo videos or something at a trade show, it could be useful for that. So by default it only sends 15-second clips, but I was able to send this full 50-second video to the frame. Alright, so in summary, at the $50 price point, it's a very functional digital photo frame. You could use it completely offline if you're willing to add photos using a MicroSD card and put up with a little no Wi-Fi symbol in the top right. If you hook it up to your Wi-Fi, it'll automatically set up an email address where you can just email photos to it without having to install the app. If you do install the app, you can very easily send it photos and videos from your phone, and you can invite other people to send videos and photos to the frame as well.